Well, President Trump is once again singling out Portland, alluding to sending federal forces to the city to stop protesters. He and members of his administration held a press conference in the Oval Office yesterday talking about his executive order designating Antifa as a terrorist organization. Vice President J.D. Vance used Oregon as an example of the supposed danger posed by protesters.
So I believe it was in Oregon where you had a federal building where there were men in black ski masks who were committing acts of violence, who were shutting down a government building. To the president's point, they don't come from nowhere. These are paid people. This is organized. They're committing acts of political terrorism on American soil. And it's time we had a government that looked out for the American people rather than the people who are committing violence against the American people.
Well, the vice president is presumably talking about the ICE office in Portland, where protesters have been out for months, sometimes clashing with federal officers.
When you go out to Portland and you see what's happening in Portland, this is like nobody's ever seen anything like it every night. And this has gone on for years. They just burned the place down. And, you know, the shop owners, most of them have left. But the few shops that are open, they just use plywood and just like 3/4-inch plywood. They don't put storefronts because they know it's going to be burned down.
Well, so far, we have not heard of any shops being burned down by protesters at the ICE office. Trump claims that rich people are paying the protesters to be there, but he couldn't say who's paying them.
Well, Soros is a name certainly that I keep hearing. I don't know, but Soros is a name that I hear. I hear a lot of different names. I hear names of some pretty rich people that are radical left people. Maybe I hear about a guy named Reid Hoffman. Somebody's a pretty rich guy, I guess, and I hear about him. I don't know, maybe could be him, could be a lot of people. We hear the same names, but they're bad, and we're going to find out. And if they are funding these things, they're going to have some problems because they're agitators and they're anarchists. These are anarchists, really bad.
Now, the president has floated the idea of sending the National Guard out to Portland several times over the past month. And yesterday, he said that he's going to, quote, do a big number on Portland.
But take a look at Portland sometime. These are wild, these are crazy people, and they're trying to burn down buildings, including federal buildings. And on my list of things that I want to do before we finish up with the cities, because I think we're going to whip the cities back into shape, and we have to. We cannot let our cities, and that's a small example, but it's the most violent example. It's every night, and they've done it for years. You think maybe at some point they made their point, and what are they doing? But we're going to get out there, and we're going to do a pretty big number of those people in Portland that are doing that. They're professional agitators and anarchists. They're actually anarchists.
So it's important to note that violent crime has fallen in Portland during the first half of this year. Portland police say we had a 51% reduction in homicides versus last year, 17 people killed from January to June, as opposed to 35 people over the same time period last year. Overall, violent crime is down 17%. Aggravated assaults are down 18%, and robberies down by 10%. Well, members of Oregon's congressional delegation have jumped into the conversation as well. Yesterday, Oregon Representative Suzanne Bonamici set up a meeting at Portland's ICE office and invited Senators Ron Wyden and Jeff Merkley, along with Representative Maxine Dexter. They say they took a tour of the building and then sat down with the head of the facility to talk about their policies and people from Portland who have been detained.
Our point is this. The president says he wants to remove violent, undocumented individuals. We're all down on that. But and what are we actually seeing? We're seeing a firefighter arrested while fighting a fire in Washington State. We're seeing a mother of 4 little children being held because she hugged her sister in the Peace Arch Park. We are seeing the use of expedited removal, which was a policy previously limited to a boundary near the border, and for a 2-week period now being used to deport people all over the country who have absolutely no criminal record at all. So when we pressed the regional coordinator of the field offices, and she covers Alaska, Washington, and Oregon, she said, no, we're hovering outside courtrooms only for people who have criminal accounts, if you will. That's simply not true. And when I pressed her on the expedited removal, she acknowledged that, yes, indeed, that is their instruction to use that everywhere they can.
Senator Wyden says he told officials at ICE that he wants to try to be constructive, but that he won't sit by when people's rights are being violated. Wyden says that when it comes to Portland, President Trump is exaggerating the situation with protesters at the ICE office.
Donald Trump is spreading this fable that Portland is so violent and so dangerous and there's so many, protesters. We just want to get the truth out and show the community that we're going to be doing everything to promote safety and avoid violence.
But when it comes to calls to close down the ICE office here, both senators said it could actually be better for detainees in the current situation if the office is kept open.
Well, if that facility is not there, it means that when ICE arrests people, they immediately go to Tacoma. Having a station here where they are detained for some hours maybe gives us a little more chance to weigh in and create pressure about unjust abuse of due process. And so on balance, there does give us a little more effort to press ICE.
Now, Representative Maxine Dexter was among the lawmakers touring Portland's ICE facility. Last week, she and other lawmakers held a hearing to highlight the story of a local mother and her children who were detained while returning from a trip to Canada. Our Stephanie Domerat had a chance to sit down with the Congresswoman this week for Straight Talk, and she asked why she has been so personally invested in cases like this. Dexter says she believes the Trump administration is going back on its promise to focus on criminals in its immigration crackdown.
There is no question we need immigration reform in this country. We need people who are legally in this country, able to work and following our laws, without question. Donald Trump's promise to be getting rid of criminals and drug trafficking, and that is not these families that we are tearing apart. So I absolutely believe that a balanced, bipartisan immigration reform policy needs to be passed. And in fact, there was one about to be passed. And Donald Trump and the Republican Party decided not to move that forward before the election. So we have made choices that have landed us in this position now where cruelty and family separation is the norm, rather than actually limiting people's ability to commit crimes and to be in our country illegally. We need easy pathways for people to get in here legitimately, and also we need to enforce our laws. And these are not laws being enforced. We're breaking the constitutional guarantees of due process.
Now, Stephanie also asked the Congresswoman about the looming threat of a government shutdown and about the White House's recent announcement linking acetaminophen use during pregnancy to autism. The full interview airs this Saturday and Sunday and again on Monday evening at 7, or you can watch it on your own schedule by downloading our free TV app, KGW+.